G'day and welcome to Aussievision. My name's Liv and we've just finished watching an absolutely stunning show of Supernova 2025 in Latvia, and we have a winner. We'll be talking about it very shortly. I am joined here today by a newer face at Aussievision. It is Saskia. Welcome.
Hello, nice to be here.
And let's just jump straight into it. We had a winner. It was Tautumeitas with Bur Man Laimi. Very cute little entry. It was the one with the 6 ladies with the beautiful little beige outfits and the headpieces and all of the sort of stuff coming down from the ceiling. Saskia, what did you think of this entry? Were you happy with the winner?
Yeah, I was really happy with the winner. I think they had one of the strongest staging concepts of the night. And I thought that their vocals were also, maybe it's just my ear getting a bit more used to it, but I thought it was a lot better than the semi-final as well. I was really happy. I think they put in one of the best performances. They had one of the best stagings and they got rewarded for that.
Yeah, I'll totally agree with that. And I agree with the harmonies. I think they were really locked in tonight, and it was just that little bit tighter to the point where it was just perfect, really. Really, really, really good. I think this was one of the few entries that rose after the semi-final. I think there were a lot of people who had expectations. There's some other entries that we'll talk about soon, that once we saw the semi-final, it either flatlined for them or it actually dropped, which obviously you never want. This was one of the few that sort of came out of the pack and rose, and it's just getting more and more momentum. It's folky, it's really cute, and quite majestic. I really enjoy it. How do you think it will do at Eurovision?
I think I think because the vocal harmonies it's so reliant on them. I hope that it's not their fault, but if the mixing isn't that good at Eurovision, it could be a make or break for them. But I think they're fine. It's more just how it's mixed. But I think if it comes across well, I think it's an easy qualifier.
Yeah, I'm kind of believing this too. Like, I don't see why, with all the extra preparation and stuff that goes into Eurovision and all the rehearsals and stuff like that, as long as they nail their bits on the night, I think this is quite a compelling package that will be totally different to anything else we'll probably get this year. And for me, I think probably this was the best overall choice in terms of getting out of a semi-final at Eurovision. It's a little bit different, and then once it does get to a final, this has quite a lot of jury appeal as well, so we can only hope that they'll do really well. But moving to our runner-up, we have Emilija and Heartbeat. What did you think of that one?
I thought it was competent. Like, that's a bit harsh, but I think out of the lineup, I was surprised to see it come this far. It's a very well-produced song. I think it was well performed. But I just think that it lacks anything special to really. I think it would have floundered at Eurovision. I could see it winning this selection, but I don't think it would have done much in Basel. There's not really much else I feel like I have to add about it. Like, they didn't give her any staging either. She sort of just stood there, and she was able to carry it, but I just don't know what they could have done with it.
Yeah, I feel like this is one of those entries that is for the general public of Latvia and the people who know her story, which is quite important, I feel, to connecting with this entry. And as an external, just normal, everyday Eurovision fan, tragic, it just kind of doesn't really do much. And to be fair, what we are feeling and thinking is what probably is closer to what a normal Eurovision watcher is going to feel and think, because we have to take these songs out of our home country and put them on an international stage. So I agree. I think it would have been quite tricky for this to connect and do any better than Tautumeitas at Eurovision. So I think the right decision was to be in second there, which sort of recognises that this is an entry that the locals really loved, but is perhaps not the one for Eurovision. Moving on to third place, this is a familiar face, Citi Zēni with Ramtai. They had these amazing little outfits that look like them things that spin in a car wash. And this was a much smoother. This was a much smoother performance than their one in the semi-final. Much tighter. The vocals were better. what vocals were in fact present in that performance, which was perhaps for me the thing that lets this entry down is the fact that the best part of your song is a drop. A lot of the best parts of the vocals is that distorted stuff in the background, which when you actually watch the main singers, they are lip syncing those bits. They weren't actually singing with the distortions live, which as soon as you get to Eurovision, a jury's going to absolutely crucify that. So as much as it was fun and I love it, and I'm going to listen to this so much, I do think it shouldn't have won the whole competition. What do you think, Saskia?
Yeah, I kind of agree with that, but I actually found that I wasn't huge on it going in, but I felt like by the end of the night, it was actually probably the one I wanted to win. Because I'm an eat your salad defender or apologist. Maybe apologist is a better word. And so I wanted to see them go back. I think this is a much better package. I think this would have qualified. It would have probably come last in the final, but it definitely would have qualified in the televote only. My only big criticism with it, apart from the lip syncing, was especially since they are a band that has already been to Eurovision, so a lot of people are familiar with the faces. To cover them up and only show two of the band members was really a choice. I kept waiting for them all to take off their masks, and then they never did. And I found that a really strange choice.
Yeah, I mean, that's so true. I mean, Craig kind of touched on this when we did the preview video, that it's like, okay, well, that's okay in Latvia when people recognize your main man and then you take off the hat and recognize, oh, yeah, that's the rapper dude. But then when you take it to Eurovision and you make it really hard for people to connect with this previous entry, it definitely wasn't going to help them. So I think there was a lot of really creative ideas here. And as far as streaming goes, this will probably be the first or second most streamed song for me from this selection. So it's a banger, but it had a lot of other issues. So I'm kind of not surprised it didn't quite make it. Moving down to another entry that was also a banger, but had some issues, which also hindered it, the Ludvig with Līgo, sorry. And they were kind of the heavy favourite going into the competition. And as far as streaming went, this was right up there. So what do you think let it down?
Yeah, like this was absolutely my winner when I first listened to all the Supernova songs. And I think this is, in all the years, in like the few years that I've been following national finals, it's definitely the best Supernova. And I love Supernova. So like it was in stiff competition, but this was my winner. Unfortunately, the staging was probably maybe the worst staging of all of the acts. I just found, and they did update it for the final, and I thought it was massively improved. However, I just think that it was so nothing. Or just, it wasn't even nothing, it was just odd. Like they had that weird triangle thing that really clashed with everything else going on. The way that he would just sort of walk around the stage was really like unplanned. And I remember watching the semi-final performance and just like deflated, and I was like, yeah, this isn't taking it. I was surprised that it came fourth though. I thought it would have been second or third.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree going into this competition in a very stiff year. This was one of my favorites as well. My main issues, I think the first one is just, he nibbled, right? Like there's a bit of aura kind of missing when he was performing. And then two, get rid of English. As soon as I could understand what he was saying, some of the lyrics are a little cringe, especially live. I feel like you notice it a little bit more. I think if it was all in Latvian, I would have actually probably forgiven a few little bits and pieces. But as a native English speaker listening to those lyrics, it was quite hard to listen to. But otherwise, it was a banger. And they did improve some of the blocking on stage and that kind of thing. But just overall, the vibe wasn't quite right for an entry of this power, really.
Yeah, I also found that I thought that there's too much dead space in the song as well, where they just didn't do anything with it. Like there's that big sort of cutout where it's like silent for almost 5 seconds or so, and he just stands there. I was like, why would you put that in the song then, if you're not going to do anything with it? If it's a song that's meant to be performed live.
Yeah, similar to Ramtai, I feel like, the appeal of this song is those chanting females, not so much the main person, which is always also a little bit of a red flag for a Eurovision entry. But moving on to 5th place in the competition, and this was actually my personal favorite going into the final. Chris Noah and Romance Isn't Dead. I'm just gonna start talking about this one. You know, it was a band, and you set and you performed with some nice camera angles. You know, he did that. That's fine. There weren't going to be too many staging options for this anyway. But what I do like about Chris's performance is that you can tell that this is a very experienced artist that's been there, done that. He kind of had that presence on stage and really elevated a song that I could imagine a lot of people maybe, you know, looked it over in the lead up to Supernova to really make it shine as much as he could. And I personally really enjoyed it. What did you think of it?
Yeah, this is also one of my favorites going in. I knew it never really had a shot at winning, and I don't think the song is overly competitive, but it is probably one of my most streamed songs, and I will keep listening to it. But yeah, I loved it as well. I thought his performance was great. The biggest concern I had going in is I feel like a lot of these types of entries they usually can't sing it live as well as the studio. I thought he sounded almost exactly like the studio. I thought it was really impressive. And I thought that the staging for a song like this was like a bit above average as well. Like so I thought it was overall a good result and I was happy to see it come top 5. I was like I couldn't ask for anything more.
Same. Once I saw the semi-final, I was like, okay, if this makes it in the top 5, I'll be happy. And there we go. We got top 5. Just quickly touching on also Markus Riva. I think it's his, was it 10th appearance at Supernova?
Yeah, I think so,
Maybe
yeah.
feels like about 100. Bless his soul. I've watched Supernova since 2018 or something like that. So I love seeing him come back every year, and just keep coming back, Markus. I love you, man. Just keep coming.
Yeah, no, I thought out of the few I've heard, I think this is his best effort yet. But yeah, I was happy to see him make the final.
And then just the overall, like we've both kind of already mentioned it ourselves, but the overall show quality and the song selections and stuff like that. What did you think?
Yeah, I thought, yeah, as I said before, I think this is the strongest Supernova, at least in the few years I've listened to it. Supernova's always been one of my favorite national finals as well, so that's high praise. But yeah, and I thought the show itself was, I think it was fairly well put together. I think a lot of the staging surpassed my expectations. Like things like Tautumeitas and stuff like that. They actually had like a proper concept and things like that, which I feel like Supernova doesn't always come through with like full staging concepts. So that was a nice change to see because I thought there were a couple of those.
Yeah, 100% totally agree. I mean, for me, this is, the strongest Supernova I've ever seen. And I really love the additions of like 2018, 2019. And this just jumped straight to the top of the pack for me. And yeah, a very realised competition. I will admit I wasn't watching the bits in between the performances. I was sort of going to other national finals to see what they were up to this morning on Super Sunday in Australia.
Yes.
So I didn't necessarily see much of the hosting and the other entertainment. But as far as the actual staging and the songs, I was extremely impressed, and Latvia should be really, really proud of this selection. And they've gone and picked something really unique here. So I wish them the best of luck at Eurovision.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's everything then. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time in the next video. Thank you very much for your time, Saskia, and everyone have a great weekend. See ya.